getting Tom's hair right was I wouldn't say that it was a nightmare, but I would say that it was a very long, bad dream.
Your waking world is shaped by dreams. Dreams and nightmares that I create and which I must control.
Hi Neil, Alan, I'm Victor Aliaga from IGN Brazil. It's a truly pleasure to be here with you today.
Thank you.
Great to meet you.
So Neil, more than 30 years later, how does it feel to see and be part of Sandman on television? Would you say it's a dream come true?
I would absolutely say it's a dream come true. And not just a dream come true, but one of those impossible dreams. One of those things where you know it can never happen. You know, I've been resigned for 30 years to, if Sandman turned up on screen, it would be in a movie. It would be a disappointment, and the only question would be how much of a disappointment it would be, and maybe there would be some good stuff to make up for the disappointment, but it wouldn't be my Sandman. And now, working with Alan, working with David Goyer, we've made Sandman, and the goal was just, can we make Sandman? And we've made Sandman. And so that is, we have dreamed an impossible dream, and we've made it real.
Alan, can you tell me something about the comics that you guys thought was impossible to do in the show, and that in the end of the day you did it?
Well, the diner was probably the biggest challenge for me. I didn't know how we were going to tell that story from the inside out. I mean, in the comic, it's sort of told from the outside in. There's a narrator who's taking you through these people's thoughts and minds and dreams, and we had to dramatize all of it, and so it was particularly challenging and scary for me.
Gwendolyn, this is for you. I really love Tom Ellis as Lucifer on Netflix as well, but I think you're already at the top of my list because that duel with Morpheus was just great. But let me ask you this, because in the comics your character was based on David Bowie's look. Was that the goal here as well?
We went back to the comics to look at Lucifer. And Neil told us it was captivating when he said it was, in his mind, Lucifer at that time was based on David Bowie as this kind of junkie angel and the otherworldliness and the androgyny of David Bowie. And we talked about the character. He felt that I was right for the part. And so I thought about what David Bowie means to me. You know, I've been aware and truly loved David Bowie ever since I can remember. You know, I really, really have. And I love that transformative power, but also that David Bowie was entirely themselves. And I thought about that freedom. I thought about that freedom that Lucifer will have. The freedom that you have when you're ultimately disenchanted by the world, that nothing actually matters at all. And then I thought about what I wanted to say about Lucifer. And at that time when we were formulating how this character might come about, you know, we've had mass global crisis. So the news was just filled every day with evil. And it didn't take much for me to think about what my response was to that.
Neil, do you remember what crossed your mind when you first saw Tom as Morpheus? What was it that you saw in him? Was it the voice, the look, the hair?
Well, when I first saw him, it was as an audition, and I thought, oh, well, there you go. There's somebody who sounds just like Morpheus and knows how to deliver the lines. I'm looking forward to meeting many, many more people like him through the audition process. And 1,500 auditions watched later, the only person I wanted was still Tom, who'd been there in the first 4.
So Tom, tell me, what's the secret to becoming Morpheus? Is it the voice, the look, the Matrix-like outfit? Because Neil just told me that he wanted you and nobody else for this role.
I wish I knew the secret, because then it would have been a lot easier. I think you have to begin with the books themselves. I mean, there are over 2,500 pages of Sandman, and if you read them over and over again, then you cannot help but have some of it enter your soul. And then you need, as fortunately we had, you need Neil Gaiman. This is Neil Gaiman's Sandman. He, as you know, because you've just spoken to him, is a protagonist in the creation of our series, and to have him there to guide me was invaluable and the most reassuring thing when I was drowning in an ocean of fear and loneliness.
There now, Dream, you may inquire, which demon has your helmet?
But let's talk a little bit about your hair on the show, because it reminded me of a raven, and Placebo's Brian Molko, the singer. Was that intentional? Because in the comics the character was based on Robert Smith, Peter Murphy from Bauhaus, and Neil Gaiman itself.
Well, I mean, the look of the character was something that we spent a long time on. We did a series of camera tests exploring it. As a massive fan, all I wanted was to literally realize the images that I knew from the comic. And so we began by painting my skin as white as a sheet of A4 paper, by putting black contacts in my eyes with stars in. I had huge wild hair, as he does in the kind of initial first couple of books. And it was amazing. I loved it. I looked exactly how I felt he should look. But Neil said to us that the most important thing is that if Dream is walking down the streets of New York or London, that no one knows that he is an Endless. No one knows that he is any different to us. And I would walk down around the corridors of the studio and everyone would be like, whoa, what are you wearing? What is on your face? What are you pretending to be? Like, are you going to a Halloween party? And you know, that was against everything that Neil wanted. We kind of got to the stage where he was like, Tom, you are sickly pale anyway. Your hair is always a mess. We're good. And yeah, it was a long process and a frightening one, because I really wanted to sort of to be true to it. But the key with this is that in being true to Sandman, all we had to do was be true to Neil. And that's how we did it.
I think getting Tom's hair right was I wouldn't say that it was a nightmare, but I would say that it was a very long, bad dream.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people have said, well, why doesn't he look just like he looks in the comics? And the answer really is because in the comics, he is a drawing composed of lines. And we wanted not to make somebody who looked like he was cosplaying Morpheus at San Diego Comic-Con. We wanted somebody who actually looked like he was the Lord of Dreams.
We didn't have to do anything to Tom. He was exactly right the way he is. And we tried everything, and in the end, just letting Tom be Tom was the way to Morpheus. So
I haven't decided if my favorite episode is the 5th or the 6th one, because the way that Sandman deals with death is very special in the comics, and I felt the same way here on the show. Do you think your perception of death changed after doing Sandman?
Yes, my perception of death absolutely changed. Because I had, for the first time in my life, done so much research about death. Death is something that we are all completely aware of, but spend so much time ignoring. But going into this role, I had to face it head on, and I did a lot of research into folklore and mythology and all these things and different cultures that have so many different takes on death and reactions and different sort of omnipotent beings. And so I absolutely have thought about death completely differently after playing this role.
Feeling sorry for yourself because your little game is over and you haven't got the balls to go out and find a new one. You're as bad as Isaiah. No, worse.
And Vivienne, what makes Lucienne so appealing to you? Because for me, is a character that's more has more humanity than the Dream.
She's very compassionate, and she's always in the dreaming. You know, she knows what an incredible place it is. She understands this very important work. And can you imagine having access to everyone's dreams? All of our dreams, understanding them, people's deepest fears, fantasies, their love, their losses. So I think that like Dream, not on the same level because he's the one that creates all of this, but it's such a deep thing that you're dealing with. It's empathy. It's hard not to have empathy when you're seeing the unconscious mind of humanity. And I think that's what drives her. And she just knows that the dreaming is such a special realm. There's nowhere else like it. Everyone visits there. There's no one, it doesn't matter who you are, you know, age, religion, colour, creed, whatever, everyone is there. So that for me was just so exciting and so thrilling and just wonderful.
Neil, Alan, I'm so happy for you and for me as a fan, so congrats, you did it.
Tell all of the fans, and especially in Brazil. Brazil was the first country in the world to reprint Sandman. It was the first place that anybody in the world cared about Sandman outside of America. And you guys have a special place in my heart. Tell everybody in Brazil, we kept the faith. We really did make Sandman and we made it for them.
Dreams don't fucking die.